Great to be here. Thank you very much. Fantastic to join the code camp. We've been trying a couple of times and then COVID has helped us. So I could make it to Romania. I'm really pleased to be with you digitally. Right now I'm in Germany, where it's my headquarters, traveling on Sunday to Austria, where we still can have some inside contact and consultancy. So sort of trying to play around with digital and on-place consultancy. And that is my subject today. A Scale Agile framework, one of the most discussed and one of the most controversial Agile artifacts or frameworks.
I'll jump in with a joke that I've heard recently. So they say SAFe is less discussed. It's probably the competition, you know.
I know. I am. By the way, I will present myself now officially. No, yes, there. I am less certified. Oh, I don't have it here. Yes, certified less practitioner. So just for the ones say, oh, you know, like you are safe. No, just a minute. I'm all certified all over the place. Okay. So I can make the jokes too. And for me, it's very important with all this certification, and there are many more, to secure that they have an overview of a wide variety of tools. So I don't walk into a customer and bring SAFe with me. I walk into a customer and I bring a wide variety of tools. So to see what does the customer need. To my person, I mean, you could see in my name that I have some sort of a Spanish background. Yeah, I was born and grew up in Spain. Then I went to high school United States. Then I went to college in Germany. So I have quite a wide globalization background. And my title is Business Agility Consultant, because when we consult or support companies, we try to support the complete business, not the Scrum teams, not the product manager. We want to bring the whole organization forward. So my company is running business agility and trainer. And I come from the technology. I was 7 years member of a Scrum team. So I've been in the trenches. I've been there fighting the first row to do some sprints and deliver user stories. I have a strong technological background. I was around 20 years a developer, Waterfall and Scrum. I went through the whole transformation. I work for 22 years for the company Ericsson. So I have a strong background on telecommunications and big companies, multinationals. And I had some very different roles, most of them with technical background. I was also in the project management office. I was running technical market support. So I had a wide variety of roles. And then 3 years ago, I decided to create my own company. So that is the company Rodriguez Pardo Assocs. I'm also invited in many conferences. I'm speaking in 2 weeks. I'm speaking in Vienna at the Software Day, and I'm speaking in 4 weeks in London at the Agile Tour. And have 3 or more actually before Christmas. And these activities we're doing here is very important. Because it's not only about me telling you things about my work or about what's safe. It's also about listening to other people speak. So it was very interesting to get involved with what Peter was saying. And it's a huge learning to listen to other people speak and to see what's happening in the world of agility. Some customers ask, do we have any post-agilismos, Almudena? I say, well, if we ever get that far, I will be the first one to know. So I try to find out in the conferences what's cooking, what's coming up, what's next. So that's about me. And now let's jump to SAFe. Florian, you just made a joke about SAFe. Believe me, there is not enough shitstorm in this world. This is one I took from LinkedIn. I didn't want to ruin the career of this person, so I took his name away. That is one of the many comments on SAFe you get in Twitter, in LinkedIn, in all the social media, probably even in Facebook. They are bitching around about SAFe. For most of the people who say these things like SAFe is a cancer, a parasite, it's not a healthy method, like it's big companies who just extinct like dinosaurs and puts more complexity on existing complexity, extra roles, extra ceremonies. Wow. I think for the first, most of the people bitching around about SAFe don't have a SAFe certification. So I always say to bitch around, you have to know a bit what are you bitching around. That's my first comment. And we'll go in some of these details while I talk like complexity and extra roles and making things complicated. But I really find it very funny that something as boring as a framework awakes emotions. I've been at conferences and people came to the front and told me, I hate SAFe. I was saying like, oh my goodness, something as boring as a framework and you hate it? So you see there are a lot of emotions about Scale Agile framework. This is reality. If you look at the State of Agile report published by version 1 now in April, and there was the 14th year in a row that version 1 is asking in the IT technology companies the same questions. And that is excellent because we see in this report a progression over several years. Now you see which is the direction agility is taking. And when coming to scaling, this is the results of the survey April this year, so a couple of months ago. And this is very interesting. Scale Agile framework increased by 5% in 1 year. And if you observe, well, if we consider that don't know, I don't know what don't know is. I hope it's not that the company doesn't know what they are doing. If we take away don't know, and we consider that a Scrum of Scrums works for 100, 200 people, then it breaks down. A Scale Agile framework, when it comes to huge companies, huge multinationals like 20,000, 50,000, 100,000 employees, has no competition. And so right now, Scale Agile framework has in the industry no competition. So those are the both extremes we are seeing, really hate and shitstorms, and then the reality that is the most applied framework. Maybe I can explain you why and give you some hints about this. You might have heard about digital transformation. It is one of the top buzzwords. Well, the second one this year is COVID and remote working. But digital transformation has been with us for several years now, and it is in any industry. Absolutely right. So we are digitalizing everything. We are making sure our customer doesn't have to talk to anybody, can with 4 clicks get any product and even pay for it. And everybody wants to be like Amazon and being completely digitalized. Now, if we take a look at many companies out there, maybe not startups, I'm talking about traditional companies, which is most of the companies out there, and they have digitalized. Yes, what has happened? They have set an excellent technology in the company. They have put 5G private network, and they have optical fiber all over the place, and the best laptops for their employees. But they are using the methodologies from last century, and the mindset of management is from the 18th century. So digitalizing is not enough. We also have to change the way we work. We have to modify the way we interact with each other, and we have to change our way of working, our processes. So that's something many companies have realized after putting a lot of money in digitalization and observing they didn't get very far. So what shall we do? And here we have a beautiful article from Forbes. Yeah, in the digital disruption, no sector is safe. We need to do something. We need agility. Okay. It's not just a process or a methodology. I like this. It's an ability. It's the ability to adjust the strategy, empower employees, flexibility, speed and view and unanticipated change. Sounds easy. So that's what we need to move on in the digital transformation. Okay, 1995, we created, or not me and Sergio, Ken, and then these two guys did an excellent work. 1995, before the Agile Manifesto, Scrum was born. So it's nothing new. It's 25 years old. We're presenting nothing new. It's funny that people don't call Scrum, don't say Scrum, it's overloaded with too many roles and too many artifacts, that is Scrum is bureaucratic. If you consider that we have here for 10 to 12 people, 3 roles, 5 ceremonies, and 3 artifacts. Could be bureaucracy. But it's not, because each role and each artifact and each ceremony play against each other in an excellent way. Working in sprints was the best thing that could introduce in the software world with Scrum. So far we did here an excellent job. But what we did with Scrum, or with Kanban, is we agilized a piece of the process. So suddenly we had agile teams all over the place doing excellent sprints with development and testing and putting a piece of value out there, which took another 6 months to get to the market due to complexity in integration of our products, and following some requirements which had been written over 6 months too somewhere else by somebody who didn't know the developers. So we've quickly realized that these Scrum teams or Agile teams was agilizing a piece of the process. It was a bit of agility in the waterfall. And suddenly we had companies like Nokia with 2,000 Scrum teams. How do you coordinate 2,000 Scrum Masters and 2,000 team backlogs? So Scrum of Scrum is not enough there. We need something else. We need, the new buzzword nowadays is business agility. That's what we require. We need end-to-end, from the very moment the customer needs something until he pays for it, the complete value stream has to be agile. It's not just agile teams. You need to go one step further. And here's where Dean Leffingwell comes in place. He's the creator of SAFe, very nice guy. He's done a tremendous work over the last 10 years. And what he says that agility is not an option. So, I mean, we don't need to lose any minute discussing whether we need agility or not. So it is a fact. If your company is not introducing agility yet, I just hope your competitor is not doing it either. But we need lean enterprises. So we have to move one step further of Scrum teams, or of Scrum, where we coordinate 6-7 teams together. We have to go one step further. How do you coordinate a company with 10,000 people, with 2,000 Scrum teams? That's what we're looking for. And here's where Scale Agile Framework comes in the game. Scale Agile Framework, by the way, if you go to www.scaleagileFramework.com, it's open source. So I'm going to tell you a couple of details. You can, of course, visit one of my courses. I will be delighted to have you in my courses, or I can even run it in your company. But if you just want to find out a bit about Scale Agile Framework, you just go to this webpage, and it's open source. All the information is there. And that's the way SAFe defines itself. The world's leading framework for enterprise agility. This is truth. I already showed you some facts and some survey. It is definitely the world's leading framework. Either the majority of the companies are wrong, or there is something about SAFe which we should take into consideration. SAFe defines itself as a knowledge base. Very interesting. It's a bunch of principles, practice, proven. I will show you now some couple of companies, and there are many more, where they are applying SAFe and they say, yes, it works. So it is proven. It's a bunch of principles and practices and competencies, and SAFe has put together lean principles, Agile principles, and DevOps principles. I make a beautiful cocktail. and is really supporting companies. So that's the definition of SAFe about themselves. The first time I saw this picture, I must be honest, I also wanted to cry. So if you have been an Agilist for all your life, well, not all my life, but I was one of the first one to jump into it in our company, and you're a passionate Agilist, and you sleep with the Agile Manifesto under your pillow, and you have worked with the Scrum teams, and suddenly you stay in front of this and you say, oh my God, what happened? Where did we get lost? So it took me a while to be friends with SAFe. By now, we are very good friends. I must say, I like SAFe. I don't love SAFe, but I like it. But it was not love at the first sight. So if you are terrified right now by this picture, I have a lot of empathy with you. It takes a while to really get to like SAFe until you really see, okay, I see the added value. What it might look as a hierarchy, you see 3 levels, it's a granularity factor. You have at the very top the big initiatives or ideas or epics of your company. At the very bottom, the user story level. So we have a granularity issue. I won't go into details of the graphic of the roles. I mean, SAFe only has like 5 further roles and actually very little more artifacts. And if you consider there are companies with 100,000 people applying it, I don't find it bureaucratic. But that's nothing I would like to go into detail because we don't have the time to go very far. I can take at the end some detailed questions if you want, or I will give you the way to contact me, and I like to be challenged. So feel free to be mean and try to be mean to this framework. So for the first, yes, does it SAFe? It goes from enterprise level down to Scrum team level. Many enterprise, if you go to Scale Agile Framework case studies, you will find a huge amount of companies, of traditional companies, moving into agility, like the German railways, Deutsche Bahn, the Australian Post, the French Work Employment Office, the tax administration in Holland, the British health system. So KLM, Air France, you have Standard Bank, the biggest bank in South Africa. So you have a huge amount of very big companies, traditional companies with a legacy, who need an evolution in agility and not a revolution, because they have a market, they have products, they have customers. You cannot change everything overnight. So you need an evolution. And we have observed that SAFe supports traditional companies, takes them by the hand and support them, give them stability to move little by little into agility. Yes, it might take 2 or 3 years, but these companies are huge and there have been many years in the market. So we are running SAFe transformation with banks. We are running SAFe transformations in almost all telecommunications operators. We are running SAFe transformations in some really stable companies like railways companies. And you see here to the right, a bunch of American governmental organizations. Many governmental organizations in United States are applying SAFe. So it's working in traditional environments very well. If you're in a startup with 10 people in a garage, I wouldn't recommend SAFe. So it's probably not what you need. But most of the industry are not startups in the garage. Now, this is one of the official slides from Scale Agile Framework. The good news is truth. Everything on here is truth. We have proven empiric values that this is happening when you apply SAFe. The bad news, this can drive to misunderstanding. This can drive to, and this has happened to me already, some traditional manager observing this slide and saying, I like it, buy me some SAFe transformation. And I always compare it, like I go to the pharmacy and I see this one pill to lose weight. I wish it was truth. I wish it was truth. If I take this one pill, I could get rid of my 10 kilos. Wow, it doesn't work. You have to do some sport. You have to stop drinking a glass of wine in the evening. You have to take care of your calories. You have to move around and don't be sitting in the sofa. It is hard work to lose weight. It's not just taking a pill. Same for any company. It's not just buying some safe courses from Mrs. Rodriguez. It's not enough. You have hard work. You have transformation coming ahead. And it's going to be a lot of effort invested. If you do this effort, if you really try, if you put your commitment on an agile transformation, SAFe can be an excellent tool to support you. And yes, you will get here. We very quickly realized SAFe projects had better quality. That was one of the very first things we noticed. We also very quickly realized that people were more motivated because they get more responsibility. By motivated people, and by less bugs, less defects, you automatically increase your productivity because the teams don't spend that much time in maintenance. And by doing incremental delivery, you are earlier in the market. Maybe not with the complete functionality, but you are earlier in the market. So yes, I can put my hand on fire, that happens, but it's not for free, it's not overnight, and it requires a lot of work, not just getting to know SAFe. By the way, in case you have any questions, you can put them in the chat, and I guess the team from CodeCamp will be reading them to me at the very end, so don't lose your questions, please. So we said SAFe is not agile. There's these big discussions, and I showed you this one shitstorm in LinkedIn. Let's take a closer look to this fact. The first thing is, what is agility? I mean, I assume you've heard this today a couple of times. There's a lot of noise around agility. I had customers calling me, Almudena, we are planning to do an agile transformation. Do we also need a DevOps transformation? And I was like, guys, is Kanban also agile? And POSITs all over the place. Oh, the company is agile. Say no. They just have POSITs all over the place. Now they are electronic POSITs. But there is a difference between a wall full of POSITs and an agile company. Agility is unfortunately very easy to fake. That is what we are facing. So that we walk in some companies, say, oh, Mrs. Rodriguez, we're agile. I look to the right and to the left. I said, no, you are not. The Agile Manifesto, which was born February 2001, is very simple. It's just a piece of poetry. It's 4 lines. These 17 guys, 16 Americans and 1 Dutch, got together for a skiing weekend in Utah. And by the end of the weekend and some beers, they had created a piece of poetry which changed completely the way we develop software. Still, some people still have problems bringing agility down to the daily work. So when you read the Agile Manifesto, you say, hey, beautiful. Oh, people, before interactions, before process and tools, how beautiful. And then they come Monday in the company and say, how do you apply this on your daily work? So we have created but a fact is, if you take a closer look into Scale Agile framework, you will realize, and this slide is actually from SAFe, you will realize it is very clearly say in SAFe, if you don't follow agility and you don't apply the Agile Manifesto, you are not doing SAFe. And SAFe has created what they call the house of lean. Scale Agile framework has created a house based on the lean principles. You know the lean principle, one of them is flow, another one is value, another one is relentless improvement. So SAFe has clearly said, if you don't apply lean principles, if you don't apply Agile Manifesto, you are not doing SAFe. So this is written in the Scale Agile framework webpage, very, very big font. So the Scale Agile framework is the first one to put the hand on fire for lean and agility. And to the slide I wanted to go, what is actually agile in your daily work? When we say we are agile, what are we speaking about? And that's where we created Almudena, that's excellent drawings, what we call the core of Agile. You are working Agile in your company. If you are delivering continuous value early in incremental development, if you are all the time trying to maximize the value to your customer, if by any sprint, the first question the Scrum teams ask is, this what we're going to do is value to the customer. When you set in the priorities, the highest priority is the cost of delay. What's going to cost not to do this? So you are focused on value. Why do we say focus on value? To get away from focus on projects. We've been so many years with the focus on the project, where we had the KPIs, project is finished on time, and the project is in budget. And when the project was finished on time and in budget, we had a small party at the PMO. And then you just, excuse me, did this project bring any value to the customer? So it was on time. So we lost the view on value by having the focus on projects. So that's the reason the core of Agile says, if you're working Agile, you have to focus on value, not on project. What is the problem we have to solve for the customer? That's the focus we have. The second aspect of agility is customer collaboration and adaptation. How close can you get to your customer? I was working for Ericsson with 150,000 employees in 180 countries. The first 15 years of my working life, I never saw customer. We had a lot of proxies and then the market unit and so on. After introducing Agility and Scrum, at some point, we got to know the real customer, not the proxies, not the internal customer, the only customer. There are no internal customers. There's only one customer, it's the one out there. So how close can you get to the customer? Don't follow a requirements specification. Talk to your customer. If you're doing this, you're working Agile. Third important part of the core of Agile is collaborating in high-performing teams with an Agile coach, Scrum Master, whatever we want to call it. We absolutely hate the Scrum Master name. So as Peter just said, it was not the best name we could find, but it's in the literature all over the place. So we have to accept it. Whoever is coaching the team, call him whatever you want, but please have somebody doing it. You want to get these teams to a performing level. We need teams. Don't have heroes, don't have silos, don't have departments. The basic units are teams. Why? Two reasons. Velocity and diversity for complexity. A team together increase the velocity of one single person who can be a bottleneck. And by very complex situation, new products or a problem, we don't know which solution to take. The diversity of a team, the wisdom of the crowd is what can give you the best solution. So you're working teams oriented and not departments oriented or cost center oriented, then you're working Agile. And the last area, continuous improvement. They are not Agile transformation projects. It is forever and ever and ever. You have to see retrospectives all over the place. You will see SAFe has a lot of retrospectives. SAFe has put retrospectives all over the place because continuous improvement is a basic unit of SAFe. If you are not continuously seeing where to improve and you are getting rid of the retrospectives because they are loss of time, and if you're not analyzing your value stream mapping to see where is the flow getting stuck, then you're not working Agile. So this is the basis to say we're working Agile, and all these four areas are in SAFe. SAFe is value-oriented to value streams. SAFe never speaks about projects. SAFe is constantly focused on the customer. SAFe has several points for retrospective to continuously improve, and SAFe basic units are teams. So from my humble opinion, SAFe is Agile. Now, why are so many Agile transformations failing? Why are so many SAFe transformations failing? And I'm very thankful to Michael Küsters, an excellent Agilist and also SAFe program consultant like me, who did this beautiful slide which includes all the wisdom of failure in Agile transformations. Somebody in the management decided to buy a SAFe transformation without actually knowing the real problem we have to solve, and actually not being aware that the framework by itself, it's only a tool. A framework can do no miracles. So just by paying a safe course, you won't be agile. So I always ask my customers the first question when they call, say, Mrs. Rodriguez, we want safe. I say, wait, which problem are you trying to solve? So I have now 2 customers where I'm introducing a lean agile portfolio, even if they don't work in safe yet. But that was the biggest problems they had. Their portfolio was unclear. They had no transparency on priorities, on what was the next thing to work on. I said, okay, then let's start there. Let's not start introducing safe, because that's not your biggest problem. So get management on board. Secure management is on board. You meet them enough that you can see on their face they understand what we're doing. And secure, the management is aware of which problems we're trying to solve. And then you can decide whether you need safe or less or Scrum or whatever else you want. But the framework is just a tool and won't do any miracles. And that's something we have to be very aware of. By the real understanding of what we're trying to do, then SAFe can really help you. So as we saw in Harvard Business Review, in this beautiful article about embracing agility, as Harvard Business Review says, agile innovation has revolutionized the software industry, completely agree, which has undergone a more rapid and profound change than any other area of business. Software in the last 30 years has radically changed. And now it is transforming any other industry. So we are all on the boat. You have seen all the companies using SAFe, banks, insurances, governmental organizations, railways, the post office. So any industry is involved. But this is an important sentence now. The greatest impediment is not the need for better methodologies. It's not that SAFe is not good enough. There's empirical evidence of the benefits of agility, even out of IT. We're working now a lot on agile human resources, on agile finances. So agility can really support. We have proven this. We don't need to discuss here. So the problem is not that SAFe is not good enough. We have to wait for the next one. The problem is the behavior of management, the mentality of management. So we really need to get leadership on board, and we need agile leadership to be able to accelerate an agile transformation. If we don't have the mindset in our executives, we won't make it very far. So I love to finish the talk. I wanted to leave a lot of room for questions, because this slide from Guy Downis really shows a beautiful summary of why we need SAFe, or why we need less, or why we need to do something in our companies towards business agility. It's not that we're doing everything wrong and now we're going to do it right. It's not about that. We have done excellent projects with waterfall projects. When you were speaking on the phone with 3G, everything was done in waterfall and you were able to talk. And we even put a man on the moon and back with waterfall projects. At that point, the code was being written by hand. And we even made it to the moon. So we have done an excellent work the last century and the beginning of this century. But what got us here won't get us any farther. The world has changed. Complexity has radically increased. And velocity is the currency of today's economy. You have to be quick, you have to be fast. And our waterfall methods, where our projects were taking up to 2 years from the very moment a telecommunications operator wanted something from us until they got it in the 90s, took up to 2 years. We cannot afford that now anymore. So that's the reason today we have to radically change the way we move on. So you were not doing everything wrong, and now you're going to do it right. We just have to evolve, and the world has evolved. Velocity and complexity. That's the reason we need SAFe. At this point, before I got into your questions, I will be delighted to listen, and please challenge me. Just let you know that you can reach me over Twitter, over my webpage, over my email, over LinkedIn, all over the place actually. So feel free to contact me in case you want to learn SAFe. I will be delighted to offer any of the courses. And if you have just concrete questions, I'm always happy to be challenged. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm completely open for questions.
We thank you. Big applauses. Can you hear them? And yes, we have questions. The first question is, when will the events be in Vienna?
The events in Vienna.
One of our community members lives in Vienna and she wants to attend.
Actually, well, I cannot see the chat. Sorry, I'm trying. I don't know what I'm trying to do here with the Zoom.
The questions are not in the chat.
Okay, okay. Please contact me. I have one open course in Vienna on the 22nd of September. So next week I am in Austria, but not in Vienna. I with a private course in a company running SAFe, and the week afterwards is public. So contact me over my webpage, and I will be happy to orient you to the link.
All right. I think it would be good if you could just unshare your presentation now, if that's okay.
Oh yeah, yes, of course. Excuse me. And I just wanted to say one more. Sorry. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much for listening. That's my last one, and now I can answer, of course. Yes. Yes. Stop.
All right.
Did I do it right? Yes. Yeah. Stop sharing. Yes.
Okay. The next question was, if you would, I don't know, try to compare somehow, if possible, not necessarily in detail, less SAFe, disciplined, agile, or yeah, similar. But let's start with these three. What would be the main differences, or?
Okay, main difference. I'll start with the smallest problem. Discipline agile. Don't kill me. Discipline agile is a waterfall with a bit of agility in the middle. Okay. Looks like agile, but if you take a closer look, sorry, but that is the waterfall. Less. I took the course with Greg Larman. I was waiting for him to come to Europe, and I spent 4 days with him in Amsterdam. I met Greg Larman, the creator of Less, also in 2011 in China, an excellent agilist. So it was a pleasure to become Less certified with him. For me, it was a real honor. I really learned a lot with Less, and I am absolutely convinced it's an excellent framework. The way my interpretation, the way I run my consultancy, and of course my private opinion about Less is a fantastic method for a startup with growth. You have a fantastic startup with no legacy, where your software is not in a monolithic architecture, but already written in microservices, all run by Kubernetes, and you want to expand to 200, 300 people. Say, try Less. Try Less. If you have a traditional legacy, if you have products from last century, some even running in COBOL, I think SAFe is a better support.
All right. Where do these frameworks come from? And is like different schools of thinking or different groups, communities?
Different business. I mean, it's everything business. It's all business, but there are different. I would say Greg Larman, the creator, is always one person with a big idea. I've introduced Dean, the creator of SAFe. I met him a couple of times. Dean is just a fantastic brain. So in 2010, he saw SAFe, and he's been evolving it over years until we got here to SAFe 5.0 now. Less, same for Greg Larman. I read his work on Less for the first time in 2011, and I thought, wow. So Greg and Bot as his colleague, and on the other hand, Dean, are just brilliant agilists. All of them are brilliant agilists who had a great idea. And as I saw you on this survey, all other things running, they are not really impacting the industry. 2%, 3%. Scrum of Scrum is one more ceremony on top. It's just a coordination of the Scrum Master, nothing else. If you have 2,000 Scrum Masters, it's not enough.
Right. So when you're saying that yeah, SAFe is more applicable or works good with the legacy software, less with more modern architectures. Is it okay to assume that Lex works that way because it doesn't need that much communication between teams or people, and then SAFe has more procedures and more ceremonies involved?
No, yes, SAFe is a bit more restrictive, yes. Less, for example, she's no product owner role. He thinks the team can take that role, which I agree on that point. Less sees a lot of empowerment to the team, far more than SAFe. Less role of management, less it's, oh, no branches in Git. Let's say you push every day to master. If you have a legacy architecture, pushing everybody every day to master can be a mess. So we have, so far, my experience is what I have seen, and I might be wrong, I've seen in some startups growing, which already had these very modern applications, and they had a very, very healthy master. I've seen this work, and in SAFe, where we still had to move some products from COBOL to the 21st century. SAFe is a bit more prescriptive and has more support for this. SAFe has opened the doors for some companies to become agile, which without SAFe, they wouldn't even have tried.
Probably also more regulated environments where...
Yes, so very regulated. I mean, we have, everybody's regulated in one way or the other, but some companies are extremely regulated. So think of a bank. And I was talking to one Austrian bank moving all their data into the cloud. You might imagine what that is, and issues and security. And so this sort of aspect, or this sort of problems, SAFe gives stronger support. Less is less prescriptive. But generally speaking, my very first advice, if you don't need to scale, don't. So don't scale just because the heck of it. So if you have a company with 30, 40 people, for God's sake, don't scale. You say, Almudena, now we grow to 200. Say, let's start looking into it. But if you can avoid the scaling, don't do it.
What do you think about approaches in which companies, without any so-called agile background or education, jump directly onto SAFe for less work?
Let's put it away. If they have zero agile so far, it could be good because they have done nothing wrong. So, I run into a couple of companies where I go, okay, so Mrs. Rodriguez, we're already agile. And then you look and say, wow. So you have to put things back in place before you move on. So sometimes it is an advantage, sometimes. Now, SAFe fundamentals and less fundamentals are Scrum or Kanban. So if you don't have a Scrum in place, don't scale. So you need your fundamentals. If you don't have teams in place running a Scrum, there is nothing to scale. When you keep creating Scrum teams, and like Nokia, you have 2,000, say, okay, we might need something on top. But you do need a fundamental there. So you need agility. So maybe we can introduce agility and SAFe in a combined project. Yeah, I've done this, it works. And with some companies, I'm starting the house from the roof. There are companies where I'm introducing the lean portfolio, but we don't have Scrum teams yet. But that was the problem they wanted to solve first. And I thought, yes, you are right. Let's first work up there on the portfolio and not first on the teams. So now the most famous answer of any consultant, it depends.
Of course.
Right. So when you're talking about such projects, the examples you mentioned, what is in your the most difficult thing you had to face in introducing a scaled agile framework?
Getting management on board.
So it's always that.
Getting executive top management, C-level, CTO, CIO, CFOs to understand the difficulty and the challenges.
All right.
Just because of booking Mrs. Rodriguez and bringing in the house and hoping she takes care of it, I can solve a lot of problems. But if I don't have to the right and to the left of my person, the executives, I can speak to the teams. I know the language of the teams. I've been a developer myself. I can speak to management. I also know that language. But if the executive the complete leadership team of the company is not behind me saying, that's the way we're working. Almudena, what do you need from us?
Also, another side of this, so totally agree with what you're saying, but sometimes you'll see another side as well. So then you work a lot to get the management of board, to convince them, or if not, just convince them to give it a shot, which is a big thing in itself. And then we do it, but then sometimes we fail because we don't have the right engineering practices to support it, or yeah, we're doing traditional development, we've done architecture design in a certain way, but then we move into the agile space and the iterative approach, and then we somehow that gets in the air, and then we think, yeah, it all will go emergently.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot accelerate processes which cannot be accelerated. Think of a small kid, a toddler, 10 months old kid trying to walk. You cannot accelerate it. Some kids will walk in 2 days, and some babies needs months until they walk. And then you have to observe your company and say, what's the tempo here? What's the velocity? Are they okay? They need a bit more of time, and you get surprised. You are really surprised sometimes at companies where think, oh, you know, they are so young and modern, and they do need a lot of time. And some traditional companies, hey, they move on. So the same way you cannot accelerate a small kid learns to walk, you cannot accelerate an agile transformation. Mostly, I don't have problems with the development. So mostly once the management is on board, talking to the developers and testers and explaining the buy-in, what's in for them and what's going to be the advantages, you very quickly get there. So for most of the time, seldom I've seen an agile transformation didn't work because we couldn't get the development on board. Of course, you have to go like this from both sides at the same time. No, if it's only from up there down, then the employees say, oh, another change project. Yeah. If only comes from down here and there's no buy-in from up there, we will get a stop at some point. So you have to secure you're moving at the same velocity from up and from down. So when I'm in a company coaching, I really try in the morning to meet some developers, have lunch with some managers, and in the afternoon meet some testers. So I really try to get involved with everybody in all the levels.
So I really like that you said developers are good people. This is how I read your message.
I was 20 years there. When you speak on the phone with LTE, you might be going through my code, yeah?
Okay. By the way, tomorrow is a celebration day for all the developers, all the programmers in the world.
Oh, then I have to take off. Oh, it's Saturday.
Of course. We've got a couple of more questions, and we've got also some time left. If you could briefly describe the concepts of architecture, runway, and the release train.
Well, then I need to share again. May I? Yes, there it is. I was prepared for this because I thought I'm surely have to share this anyway. At this point, I come back to save. Where is the? Yes, there it is. That is an Agile release train. Agile release train, it is a team of teams. That is the best definition I can think of. Agile release train. Can you see the
Yes.
Can you see the web page? No. So here I am, as you can see up here, I am at scaled-agile-framework.org. So what I'm doing here, anybody can see it. And if you click here on Agile release train, you get a complete information. Like I say, everything here is open source, and it's a team of teams. You have here this role for this team of teams. You have an architect coordinating the teams. Here you have the Agile teams. An Agile release team is around 100 to 150 people, same as less, very same as less. So let's have the same concept. There's not that big difference between less and safe. And then you have a product manager who coordinates all the product owners. And then you have this role called release train engineer, or not the top name, to be honest, which coordinates all the Scrum Masters. So you have the roles you have in a team, you have them at a scale. So doesn't mean that the teams don't have any emerging architecture, but you need somebody to coordinate it. No, guys, we all have to use Git, but one team wants to use a clear case. I'm sorry, we have to use Git also. So you have to define a frame. And actually, it was very interesting to see Spotify publishing some months ago an article explaining the biggest problem they had was this autonomy of the teams. So it's not about somebody putting rules, but creating coordination on product level and architectural level. Then you have the enterprise architect. We might have enterprise decisions like to take all our products into the cloud. Somebody has to see which cloud shall we use, where is it based? Or maybe we want to introduce artificial intelligence. So some architect has to decide on company level and not on product level. That is the difference. And somebody mentioned the architectural runaway. That is this red line down here. It is the code, the existing code, which keeps growing, which needs some maintenance. That is the architectural runaway concept. That was safe in a flash.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we're done also with the time. It was the last conference of the day and also...
well, you mean last session of the day and last conference of the week.
It's
but
late,
we get you.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, it was a real pleasure. Thank you very much for having me on the boat. Yeah, be happy anytime. And for any questions, please just contact me.
We'll do so. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.